Welcome to the Boys and Girls Clubs of Providence's annual meeting. My name is Nicole. I am the Executive Director for Boys and Girls Clubs of Providence. It is my pleasure to have you here tonight at the Art Club. I would first like to thank our host for the evening, Mr. Bob Schock, who is a member here of the Art Club. And Steve Stockman, the treasurer of our board. Tonight, I really think that you'll be glad that you came. Not only are we in this beautiful room, but you'll hear from one of our young people and meet some of our young people. And you'll also hear about the really special things that people in the community, alumni, are doing for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Providence to make sure that every child that lives in Providence has a chance to reach their full potential and become who they want to be when they grow up, and that's pretty special. So thank you for being here this evening. I would now like to call up our MC for the evening. Mary Daly is the Senior Vice President of Global Marketing Affairs for Bank of America. She's also on our board. And I just want to share with you one really funny story about Mary this morning. We were at a breakfast held by Bill Hatfield, who is also here this evening, from Bank of America. And not only is Mary the commander of a room when she's running an event, but as the executive director, as I was sitting in the room, she also became my great protector. There was a very large bumblebee in my room. And Mary, as soon as she saw it, started swatting it to get it out of the way of the guests, and even realized as it landed on my white blazer that it was a white blazer, and she didn't want to crush it on the white blazer, so she knocked it on the floor, stomped it with her foot, and took care of everyone that day. So welcome, Mary, and thank you.
Was so big, it was under my shoe for 5 minutes. And it was still moving. So good evening. I'm delighted and honored to be with you tonight. As Nicole mentioned, I am a member of the board, but I'm a relative newbie, just 2 years under my belt. But I first joined the board because my husband and I have 2 daughters, and it was a particular joy for me to help in their development as they were growing. And I wanted to do more of it, just without actually producing more ourselves. But since I've been on the board, I've been absolutely inspired by the work that the club does with our youth members, particularly as it relates to education and career. One of the club's objectives is to create healthy minds and bodies in our kids, such that they stay in school, perhaps pursue college, and grow into and make meaningful contributions in our society as adults. They do this through their after-school programs, providing meals, access to physical activity, homework help, tutoring, and of course a healthy dosage of fun. In addition, our Providence Club has a really strong youth employment program, putting 50 to 100 members into summer job programs each year. This experience helps our members develop foundational skills, but also technical skills. Our kids are introduced to careers in construction and trade, but also in the STEM industries through our solar car building, as well as our weird science programs. One of the challenges facing Rhode Island businesses today are a shortage of a skilled labor force. You may hear people talk about the knowledge economy. One way to think about this is the way that jobs and industries have changed. The construction trade is still about hammers and nails, but it's increasingly reliant on digital and software skills. The food industry is still about food preparation and service, but it's also about app development. And for that matter, think about how the taxi industry has forever been changed with the introduction of Uber. But it's important to note that talent is also the currency of innovation. And in many cases, a college degree is the passport out of poverty. But not all jobs in the knowledge economy require elaborate or private college educations. In fact, it's estimated that a full 40% of the jobs in the biomed field, and that's the industry that's reshaping the diagnosis and treatment of disease, will require an associate's degree. And we are fortunate to have a very strong community college that offers that very degree. The Boys and Girls Club of Providence is preparing our members to graduate from school on time, ready for and pursuing post-secondary education and 21st century careers in the knowledge economy. For this reason, the future is bright. It's bright for Rhode Island, it's bright for business, but it's also brightest for our kids, and it's very exciting to be part of it. So at this time, before we go into dinner, I'd ask that we observe a moment of silence, and I'd ask that you keep in your thought children everywhere around the globe who are facing and overcoming adversity. And we'd also ask you to keep in mind former board member Jerry Fogarty, who passed away earlier this year, but he was also known for his great kindness and generosity and a very good friend to the club. Thank you. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce Tom Fay, President of the Board of Governors. It's been my observation over the past 2 years that Tom has done a particularly good job with developing improved governance structure. Some people would equate that with rigor and maybe a dose of bureaucracy. Not so for Tom. He's created really value-add processes and programs that have helped us be more competent board members, making us a stronger and more agile board overall. So Tom, I welcome you to the podium.
It's the first time I've heard Richard and Brian was being buzzed. That's not what the people said. So, good evening. Thank you for participating in this year's annual meeting. It's exciting for us to have all you here. As Mary mentioned, I'm Tom Fay. I'm the current president of the Board of Governors. Before I make a couple of very brief, I promise to be brief comments relating to the business agenda, I'd just like to take the opportunity to thank the amazing staff and volunteers of the Boys Club. I think sometimes they don't get... Under Nicole's leadership, the organization has continued to flourish, and we continue to be excited about the future and propel the organization forward. We can be very proud of the accomplishments this year of enhancing program offerings, and people here such as Mike and Mary and Nicole have taken such a great role in that, improving finances and fundraising, with Peter on the finance side and Lisa here on the fundraising, and continued evaluation and looking at all of our clubs and improving the facilities, and Jay Carter has done an amazing job at helping to volunteer with that. Most importantly, though, we see productive, healthy, and happy club members every day leaving our clubs to make the world a better place. So it truly is our future. You know, last year, we focused on the theme of ending the vicious cycle of poverty for many of our youth. We extended a challenge to all of those at the annual meeting, asking if we were really doing enough to change people's lives. As I had stated in my written message in the program, you heard the call. Our current board has worked together with the management team to strengthen our organization, and tonight we welcome 5 new board members who have joined the board during the year and helped contribute to our organization. They jumped right in to help us move forward, and it really helps us think about this year's theme, a time to create the brightest futures for our youth. So tonight we celebrate also 2 endowments that have been created to assure that help is there for our kids on an ongoing basis. One, the Solomon Endowment, will provide post-secondary college education to support our young women and men. The other, the Robert P. Brooks Presidential Scholarship Endowment Fund, will provide membership funds to begin our club kids' life's journey with us. These endowments truly reflect the commitment and dedication of their namesake. Saul and Bob were club kids who benefited as members growing up and have greatly contributed as leaders as they've gotten older. So tonight's a celebration. We celebrate the efforts of the past year and the accomplishments. We look forward to the future, and we really celebrate our theme of creating the brightest futures for our youth. Thank you to all of you for what you do and being here tonight.
So we're going to start with the Solomon College Education Endowment. And I had the pleasure of working with Solomon for years since I started working for the Boys and Girls of Providence in 2004. And there will never be another more genuine, kind person that just gets it and cares about everyone, no matter who you are or where you're from. And he's an amazing family. So I'm going to read this to you because, again, it's just very, very special. For well over 50 years, there has been a light shining in the darkness for young people with needs. The light is Sal Solomon. When Sal saw hurt, he hurt too. Then he did something about it, not once, not twice, but through his lifetime. For generations, Sal has been actively engaged in a multitude of humanitarian causes. One of his greatest passions has always been education. Sal knew that education leads to a future of action, and action makes hurt go away. Today, young people, more than ever, Today, young people need more help than ever to secure a college education. Without one, prosperity is a distant dream. For inner city kids, life revolves around chasing money for housing, food, and the basic necessities of life. Later, you're going to hear Caesar talk about that. He's our youth of the year. Without generations of educated children, where will youthful vision come from? Our kids are our future. And from where will the energy, enthusiasm, the interest, and other-centeredness come to make the world better? Sal always said that education is the key to success. Now, through his endowment, Sal has given Providence youth a concrete chance to shine. So now I'm going to ask John Murphy, who also called the Boys and Girls Club as he was growing up home, and that's where he met Sal, and he's going to tell you about his friendship from Sal and their time at the Boys and Girls Club in their life.
This is an honor and a privilege for me to have this opportunity to talk about my friend. I was reading an article the other day and it came across and I said, gee, this would be great to start off this few words that I'm going to have tonight in honor of Sal. I think the hero is any person really intent on making this a better place for all people. That was Mayor Angelo. So Sal to me was a hero. He crossed my life, he was involved in my life, and involved in business and also in charities and just so many ways. My first encounter with Sal was 5 years old, 1943. Sal was a volunteer in the Boys Club with a red, not a jacket, but a windbreaker on. All the volunteers had windbreakers. Sal had a big, big flashlight, and at the Friday night club show movies, you couldn't talk. Sal, shut up! Sit down. Discipline was big with Sal. Sal was the head of the volunteers. So that goes back, my first encounter with Sal was 1943. And then, as I grew older and Sal was going into the Army, he was very disappointed and very, oh my God, I graduated from Hope in 1943 and I flunked the draft. I was 4F. They didn't draft me. And that's when I wanted to go in the service. He was complaining. He was really pissed off. Sal went in, Korean War. He was my next door neighbor across the street, diagonally across the street from me. And I think that was the turning point in Sal's life. He worked with his father and his sister at the Six Corner department store. Now, it was a little store, but that didn't tell the whole story. Sal was head of the wholesale. All Catholic schools in the state wore uniforms. Sal supplied the uniforms. All the graduating classes from the city school, state school, wherever they were, Sal would go get a senior, put him on the payroll, give him a commission, and all the tuxes came from the Sixth Corner. That's kind of an entrepreneur he was. So when he went into education, I was really shocked. But, he went back to Bryant after the Korean War. I think he got out of college, maybe he was 27. And then he continued. He got 2 master's degrees upon that. But the feeling that, money and, I can make money anytime I want to make money. That's the way he came across. But he was so dedicated to teaching and to helping people. Then lo and behold, he'd come to me, you got to help me out. What are you doing? I'm helping, I'm on the board at St. Jude's Hospital. I said, oh, that's great, Sal. Yeah. that's great. You need your help. I said, oh man, what is this? He said, come on, I want you to meet Dr. Sullivan. So this guy comes in from Washington, Dr. Sullivan. He's an Irish immigrant, but he's a doctor practicing in Maryland. And he says, tell him the story. Tell Murphy. He says, look, it's a rural country out there in Ireland. And St. Jude's is willing to go over there. Okay? What do you want from me? Money! I said, Sal, I'll do what I can. And the doctor, well, you got to come to Memphis. So Sal started off with cans, 1958, little cans he put in stores in Fox Point. And he put coins in there, and it was for Danny Thomas, who was Lebanese, and Sal was Lebanese. And Dick Shadiak, a very prominent attorney, who lived in Providence for about a year after he graduated from BU Law School. He went to Washington, and then Danny Thomas got a hold of him, and then the Ferris guy that owns the Venus de Milo restaurant. And Sal brought Danny Thomas in to Rhode Island, and he brought him to his high school that he was teaching at. And brought him home to Fox Point, and the Ferrises had a big party. Then I said, why do you do this, Sal? So he told me the story. He said, Danny Thomas was an altar boy in Toledo, Ohio. And the priest there became a cardinal in Chicago. When Danny was looking at, he was a broken down actor. He wasn't getting any plays. He wasn't getting any movies. He went to set up prayer in this church, and he said, if I make it in the entertainment business, I'll never forget it. Lo and behold, he goes to the cardinal. He said, I made this prayer, and I'm pretty successful now. Got my own TV program. He says, what do you think I should do? He says, would you do something for me? He says, of course, you were my priest. You're inspiration. You told me to say the prayer. So I landed on my feet. So he says, my hometown in Memphis, Tennessee, there's a sickle cell amongst the African-American children. And the death rate is like 86%. And only 14%, if they're afflicted with this disease, will live. So that's what you want, Father. That's what you want. And then, lo and behold, Danny Thomas hooked up with Dick Shadiak, Sal Solomon. Sal to me says, this is Dr. Sullivan, come down to Memphis. I went to Memphis, and they're showing me the place now. They've got 4 huge 11-story buildings. They have, it's a pharmacy. They take the whole family in. If you have an afflicted kid with cancer, there's 3 in the family, the whole family moves. They make sure the father gets about 80% of the salary, and the mother, they educate the kid. They keep the family there until they can arrest that cancer. When Danny Thomas and Sal and Dick Shadiak started, as I said, it was 16, 14% going to survive, 86% is going to die. So that was it. Today, it's just the opposite. 86 live, 14% dies. So tremendous. The 50 years that Sal been around St. Jude's Hospital. And one thing that I couldn't say no. I'm sitting there, they're showing me the hospital, and this parent is there with the doctor. They come out for a while to meet me and Sal, tell him this story. Tell him, Mr. Murphy. So she says, well, I've been here. This is my 3rd time. We arrested when he was 2 years old. I brought him to St. Jude. They thought they had it. They said, we went back home. Come back to the 4-year-old, and now he's 6 years old. And he's got 6 weeks to live. So doctor, get back in there and find a cure for this kid. Kid didn't make it. But that's one story. How do you leave a hospital? When you see, instead of gurneys and you put kids in teams, like little wagons, and bring them for operating rooms for all their tests and the x-rays and everything. The whole hospital is like alive. It affected me. And I couldn't say no. So Sal, he said, yeah, you're going to Ireland. That's where the problem. I said, yeah, all right, I'll go. And little did I know, I'm caught in 2 different countries. My ancestors, my parents were from Republic of Ireland, South and Catholic. And then up north, it's a British, part of the British Empire. And it's like, we're not even elected. I mean, we're not the same. But we are all one people. But, you know, the Protestants and the Catholics, war went on for 30 years over there. So we set the cameras, the electrical equipment was coming, and St. Jude spent millions and millions of dollars to help this rural country up in the Northern Island. And then we went down to the Republican Island, and that's where I'm from. My mother and father, and the people didn't accept it. It was like go back to Tennessee. We're saving lives, you know. And it's socialized medicine. They don't care. The ones that are present doctors want their sons to take their place. They don't want any new ideas. It was a hassle. We were there fighting almost a year trying to get people. So two things in Ireland they do with the North and the South combined is rugby and track. So I was fortunate that I had some runners from Providence College that came from Ireland. So we got all those guys involved, and I had some rugby players that used to work for me, so we got those guys involved. So I take them, these people over to Ireland with me. So it kind of broke the ice that the runners and the rugby players just wouldn't tolerate this political stress and fighting that was going on over there. So finally, lo and behold, we got it done, and I couldn't believe it, but brought the nurses over, trained them, brought the doctors over to train them. And it's a viable hospital. And come to find out, they had a meeting like this. The Prime Minister was there, and the Northern Ireland was there, some of the IRA leaders were there, and I said, you know, talking, the Protestant bishop said to me, leans over and says, you know, we really own this hospital. I said, oh, really? He said, yeah, it's 95% Catholic here in Dublin and 5% Providence. And Protestant. So they control the patients, but it's still my hospital. I said, oh my God. So that we got at first we couldn't get anything to work, the machine. So St. Jude sent people from Memphis to Dublin for 1 year to get the hookup electronically, all the computer equipment. So you can have an operation going on in Dublin, but the lead doctor is in Memphis. They tied it in. And it's a dairy country, so these doctors 100 miles away from Dublin, they just didn't know how to cure kids with cancer. That rate was very, very high. And it could be, with the right treatment, you could save these kids. And that's why Sal was so adamant about getting this done. And he wouldn't quit. He wouldn't quit. And he also did it in Lebanon. And he also did it in Africa. We weren't successful in Africa. We just couldn't keep the drugs over there in two different civil wars that go on around those countries. We had to pull out. But this is some of my experiences with Sal, along with his longtime leader in the community college. He left high school and went there when the community college opened. He had a retail program going on that was second to none. And one thing he always emphasized to me in business, he said, "You gotta advertise." That was ringing in my ear. So in business, advertise. When I was starting my business, Sal was always banging me around about that. And then the family was diagonally across the street from me. I know his son, Michael, worked for me. Celia and I see each other in church, and Patty is an attorney. A wonderful family, a man of principle, a man that's dedicated his life to public service and helping other people. And I don't know if I left anything out along the way. The other day, we have cameras all around in our building now. I said, it's not my request, Sal, it's the government's. Sal didn't want to hear it. He would just walk through the security like, I come in to see you. I don't care about those cameras. I said, well, Sal, the government's going to think that we got some laundering money or something. You got to stop. But Sal wouldn't stop. And my experience with the Boys Club is Sal was the volunteer. And my mother would say to Jesse Vicentes, I'm holding you personally responsible. He should be home in 15 minutes to walk from the Boys Club home. But Mrs. Murphy, you know, I got 500 kids. Jesse, I'm holding you personally responsible. You want my boy in the Boys Club? You take care of him when I'm not there. So that's the way it was in the Boys Club. Jesse touched Sal's life, and police officers came out of the Boys Club, firemen came out of the Boys Club. I see Tony Andre, a board member. He can tell you what effect the Boys Club had on his life, and it's just had an effect on my life. And Sal was a member, finally, I don't want to talk too long, but Sal was a member of the East Providence Boys and Girls Club. And we were losing the Boys Club in Fox Point. There again, Sal come up to me and said, hey, you guys are not going to have a Boys Club. Why? Because we're merging with no way. We called a meeting, and we gathered 500 to 1,000 people. That was alumni that came through that Boys Club and said, we're going to get a Boys Club. I was the city councilman. I introduced the resolution. Joe Dolly passed it. We gave it to Freddie St. Germain. Sal was there on Wickenden Street. We had a meeting with the Nixon people. And they weren't, you know, liberal Democrats, believe me. So I took them. They had the meeting. We got the library. We had the police. We had the health centers, we had nuns, we had priests, and I took them into, I said, now these people, it's a low middle class neighborhood, but there's pride of ownership. I'm part of it, I was born here. And this is not going to be a slum. And this Boys Club will stand and survive. That was in '68, it's still surviving today. It's better than ever even. So the commitment, Sal was a part of that. Sal told us, he sounded the alarm. You're not going to have a Boys Club unless you do something about it in Fox Point. So it meant a lot to Sal to have a Boys Club in Fox Point. It meant a lot to me. The church, the school, Boys Club. The Boys Club had the most influence. Boys Club had the most influence in my life and Sal's life. Not the church, not the school. It was your family and the Boys Club. Learned so many things, interacted with all kinds of people. And Fox Point Boys Club is very, very dear to my heart, as it is to Sal. That's why he went on the board here. And often his talents. Another person that I don't want to forget is Reverend Sharp. I see his son Bob is sitting here tonight. Reverend Sharp, when we brought this proposal for a community development, a community center, he bought hook, line, and sinker into it. The rest of the board wasn't buying it. But Reverend Sharp, God rest his soul, he bought it, supported us, still going. So I have a debt of gratitude to Bob Sharp's dad, Reverend Sharp, and community in Fox Point, as they say, came together. Just when we mentioned that Sal sounded me along that we wouldn't have a Boys Club, that was it. It rallied everybody, because it was a cause close to our heart. To this day, my life is, I have a debt of gratitude to the Boys and Girls Club. It was a home away from home, and under good leadership with Jesse Resendiz and Joe Angrade and Johnny Purdell and Mingo Lopes. It was a place I went every day. That was it. My mother wouldn't let me hang out street corners. Only place you could hang out was in the Boys Club. So Sal, I owe a debt of gratitude. He was the guy that really put the Boys Club on our street, one of them. I mean, we had a lot of help, but it wasn't the Sal's giving us the heads up and alerted us. That's what it was. So many times in my life has had paths crossing with Sal, and nothing but fond memories, and he was a hero in my book.
This chair here is extremely special. Each is a one of a kind. They are signed on the bottom by the actual carpenter who made them. They have our emblem, and this one on the back says Solomon A. Solomon, alumnus since 1930. Board member 2007 to 2014. Board emeritus 2014. And then one of his favorite sayings, education is the key to success.
members, staff and volunteers of the Boys Club, and last but not least, members and their families. My father would be extremely grateful. His 80-plus years of involvement in the Boys Club, either as a member or a volunteer, I believe he wore as a badge of honor on his sleeve, and he was extremely proud of it. So this is something that if he was here, he would have his patented smile on his face and give you 2 thumbs up and be very thankful. So on behalf of my sisters and I, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
At a later date, I will actually go with the family who will present the chair to Saul. Couldn't be here tonight. And the chair was also paid for by a dear member of the family. So we'd like to say thank you for that as well. So the next one is the Robert B. Burks President Scholarship Endowment. I'd like to thank all of the partners and the people who are here from Agricultural and Sheehan. Not only has Bob been instrumental in us actually being able to rebuild the Boys and Girls Club, but we couldn't do it without your firm. Rob has been helping me as well, and I always know that if Bob is not available, we have each of you to call for legal advice, and you all know I need a lot of legal advice. So thank you very much. I don't really need to read anything for this one. In 2004, I received a phone call. I started working for Providence. I'd been there for 4 months, and I received a phone call from a man I had not met yet, and he said, "We have a little problem, and we need you to be in charge of the entire organization." And I said, "Okay, maybe we can get together next week and we'll talk about it." And from there, we've started this journey where we've had to sometimes make some unpopular decisions to make sure that the club will always be there for kids for another 150 years, and we will turn 150 in 2018. And we started this journey, and things weren't always easy. And his office was picketed, and people were yelling at times, and Bob just always stayed the course. And we put a plan together, along with all the other board members who were in this room, that we couldn't have done it without as well. And today we have a thriving Boys and Girls Club. There's still challenges. We have a good team of people who are working, but without Bob's leadership and then his ability to hand it off to Tom and work with everyone, there'll be a lot of kids without services today. So this scholarship fund is very, very special to me and the firm. And I will read this, and it'll lead into a friend of Bob's is also going to say a few words. And you'll notice in the program it says, "Will there ever be another Bob Brooks?" And those of you who know him, we could use 2 because you really never know if he's going to show up and be in the room when you need him. He is here today. This says, "Who can know why a person decides to help another? In Bob's case, he knew firsthand that some kids have and others do not. He decided to take charge of that reality to give those who have not. He wanted to give a transformational opportunity to Providence youth. Bob wanted to give them to the club. Wanted to give them the club, the place today that is still safe in turbulent times and provides security amidst challenging obstacles. As Bob experienced, a place where help is given to provide a path, just like Bob's dream, a path with a future, a profession, a home, and a family." So now I'm going to ask Tony Leone to come up and say a few words about that.
First crisis. I can't read my notes.
Remember, brief, Tony.
Okay.
You got the stage, take it away.
You bet. I got the mic. Okay. Nicole asked me, I don't know, a few weeks ago, if I would like to say a few words for Bob Brooks. I said, no, not really. I said, I really want to say a lot of words about Bob Brooks. Unfortunately, I'll try to restrain myself, knowing that we all have time schedules to keep it all. Bob, your colleagues, your friends at Solomon's, fellow board members, fellow alumni, Well, there was some here. Remember coming in. Folks, you understand, as the staff will tell you, that as alumni, we give our opinions freely, even when it's not requested. And that's really because the important place that this organization has in our hearts. I consider myself a man of faith, but even my church hasn't had the commanding presence in my mind and in my soul than Boys and Girls Clubs. I want to say a shout out to the staff. They really do not get nearly the credit that they deserve. They are I don't remember joining the Boys and Girls Club. I was much too young. But every time I'd say, Sal, I've been involved with the clubs for 65 years, you'd say, you're a freshman. It's 82 for me. I had the privilege, and it really was a privilege, to serve as president of Boys and Girls Clubs of Providence. We had an awful lot of challenges to face, as Bob and Tom do not. Most immediate, of course, was fundraising. None of us saw it as a choice to close a club, reduce services. Can't happen, won't happen. We knew we had to pay the bills, but we had to find a way to raise more money. We just had to find a way. I asked for a list of donors were given to the clubs through the United Way. And most of our leadership at the time knew all the donors. But there was one name that popped up. I asked in my subtle way, who is this guy? Who? Man, I don't know who he is. His name is Robert Brooks. Who is he? What does he do? Where did he come from? I don't know. He gives us money. We're supposed to know that. He had given us money, very generous donations, for a number of years without having asked for it. Oh, wait a minute. This guy I have to meet. He's given us money. Why? Why did he single out Boys and Girls Clubs of Providence? For his generosity. Can you give me a little information? I'm going to call him. What does he do? Well, he's a lawyer. So I inquired, and I found out that he was a rising star at one of Rhode Island's most prestigious firms. And I was so proud to read in the paper not too long ago, I think he was named managing general partner. Not bad for a kid from Olneyville. Not bad. Not bad. It was a very, I thought, pleasant lunch. Who is this guy? I didn't know whether he was young or old. I really didn't know. But it was a great lunch. And what impressed me was I didn't have to convince him to join the board or continue his contributions. He knew it, not because he had read it in a brochure, but because he felt it in his heart. The slogan at the time was that the Boys and Girls Clubs were a safe place for kids. He understood that, not because it was a clever marketing slogan, but because he had experienced it himself. Boys and Girls Clubs taught us to respect everyone, but in the spirit of athletic competition, to fear no one. I came from the Wansket Club. Competition, fierce competition with our friends from Fox Point. We made lifelong friendships. They love us and we love them. We learned, as Bob learned at the Olneyville Club, that you respect people for the content of their character. not the color of their skin. That's how you judge men and women. It's a core value that Bob knew. Bob accepted, enthusiastically I think, our invitation to join the board. He became engaged immediately. And when you become part of a new organization, you try to find out what the protocol is. Bob was home from his very first meeting. I was always impressed that when he gave an opinion, whether it was a crisis, whether it was a good thing, whatever it was always based on facts. He never let whatever personal approaches or values he might have had stand in the way of an honest analysis based on facts. His presidency, and it soon became inevitable, that he would assume the leadership of the organization. I believe that Bob was the right leader for the right time. We needed a leader who could find the solutions to complex problems, rather than to, as many did, curse the doctors. Yes, we had financial challenges that weren't easy to resolve. But his analysis was always very careful. People, particularly those of us who were involved in the club for a long time, often took emotional approaches. Bob never allowed that to happen. He guided our discussions, he guided our debates, always with full recognition that there were people involved at the end of our decisions. And so they had to be treated with the human dignity to which all people are entitled. So, on behalf of the members of our board, on behalf of our outstanding staff, on behalf of our fellow alumni, and most important to me, and I think to Bob, on behalf of all the boys and girls who benefit from your leadership every day, I'm so happy to join with Nicole and make this presentation. I just think this looks like very comfortable. It's a nice place to write checks.
The plaque on Bob's chair reads, alumnus since 1967, board member since 1996, board president 2003 through 2011. The club helped me to achieve my dreams.
One picture off, oh my goodness.
You don't expect me to say anything now. Well, first I want to thank Tony for getting the emotion out of me. Those of you who know me, I tend to get a little emotional. I want to say thank you to a few people that are here and a few people that are not here. First of all, with respect to the endowment, I first want to thank Steve and Angel, who made the first leadership gift to begin the endowment. Stephen's not here today. He is a member of the board, but I do want to recognize their contribution to Steve. There are other friends and colleagues who have made contributions to the endowment already. Forgive me if I don't mention you all by name. You know who you are, and I truly thank you. I want to, first of all, also thank the members of the board that I serve with, those who I've served with in the past, and those who I serve with presently. They all get it. They all understand how important the work we do is. And as Tony said, it's not about Tony or myself or Tony Andre or even Sal Solomon or all the people who came before us. It's about the kids today. I want to thank my colleagues at Adler, Pollock, and Sheehan for the support that they've given me throughout the years and the support they continue to give the Boys and Girls Club of Providence. Because I support the club, they support the club. And we're a family, just like Boys and Girls Club is a family. And I thank them from the bottom of my heart. I also want to thank my own family, my wife Melissa, my two children, Madeline and Robert, and the time that they allow me to give to the clubs. We just came in from vacation today. We got home about 4:30, so they're unpacking, but they allowed me to come today. So I want to thank them, obviously. In terms of the endowment, I just want to say this. There's an old saying that 80% of success is showing up. And so when we started to talk about an endowment, something, a legacy that we could leave, I thought the best thing would be to provide for kids who can't afford to go to the club on their own, and to sponsor kids so that they can experience what I experienced, what Tony experienced, what Sal experienced, and what all the kids that go today experience. Again, you can't have success until you show up, and the staff and the programs that are available today and the safe place that they have to go to is that one extra step, hopefully, that one little push ahead in life that they'll hopefully bring and use for their own success. So I want to thank everybody in the room for attending tonight, and I want to thank you all for supporting Boys and Girls Club of Providence. Thank you.
Every year, we have what we call the Youth of the Year competition. And here's how it works. The kids who participate are the best and the brightest in the city, and they have to fill out an application that's harder than a college application to fill out. There's 3 essays that really make them think about who they are, who they want to be, and what part the Boys and Girls Club has played in that for them. And tonight, we have our 2016 Youth of the Year, Caesar Pimentel, who's going to come up, and he's going to tell you about his experience at the Boys and Girls Club and share a speech with you that he has written. He's actually going to read it because we just had the competition, so I've asked him to read it to you because I want you to hear what he wrote, and I want you to hear all of the words. And the title is the future of America's youth. So if Caesar, would you please come up? One thing I know Caesar won't tell you is that he was just accepted to not 1, 2, or 3 colleges and universities, but 8.
Hi everyone, I hope everyone's having a good night. I promise I'll make this brief, but I definitely wanted to share this with you guys. Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge the 2 other candidates that are running with me for the Providence competition. That's Anthony, my brother, and Benji, who is my friend. I'd also like to highly acknowledge our 2016 State Youth of the Year judges that I believe are with us here tonight. And a round of applause for them as well, too. As Nicole said, I'm the 2016 Youth of the Year for the City of Providence, going for states. And I wanted to share with you guys my Vision for America's Youth essay that I typed for the competition. Hope you guys enjoy it. My vision for America's youth. Many youth growing up today face a wide range of things that either set them back or distract them from what's important. They are burdened with circumstances that their parents bring upon them. They are forced to rise with less than what most children get to begin with. No one can ever really comprehend or put into perspective what one specific person goes through in their youth unless they have gone through similar situations themselves. In the face of adversity, many teens become disordered and lost. Personal issues at home grow to overlap education, and then stress relieving activities are depended on. Youth more than ever need to be reminded what is really important and what they should be focused on. They need guidance and daily reminders that they matter. The future of many weighs heavily on these factors, and we as a community must rise to the occasion. Growing up and attending public schools, I was exposed to people who have less. The difficult conditions definitely opened my eyes. I always remember how problematic it was for many kids my age to separate their personal lives from their education. In a sense, problems outside of school were and made educational aspirations almost impossible for them. A line between one's individual problems and their education are imperative when it comes to expecting results in academics. For example, many teens are more worried about where they'll obtain their next meal from more than preparing for a test. In addition, many teens are burdened with guardian responsibilities for younger siblings instead of focusing on what's really important in the present, their schoolwork. When youth find themselves caught between two major responsibilities, they eventually fail and depend on whatever relieves their stress. Sadly, more than half the time, this relief is obtained through the use of drugs and consumption of alcohol. I've had firsthand witness to many of these situations growing up. Whether it was a close friend or family member, it never seemed to fail at destroying the hopes and dreams of many people growing up. Youth must learn to look past all negatives occurring in the present and to focus in on what will benefit them in the future. The root to this is to never put school second to issues and bad habits. Instead, youth must use academics as a way of staying focused to avoid all other negatives occurring in their environment. As a community, the simple remedy to treat this dreadful issue we see emerging eminently in our society among our youth is to provide support and guidance. Simple, but also complicated. What makes this solution so broad is the different ways in which it can be approached, but still have the same positive effect on the individual's life. Clubs help teens manage their problems. It's a place in which all can find comfort in, and a location that stresses education. This presence in a youth's life plays a huge role in keeping them on track and focused. People willing to invest their time for the well-being and sake of others is the primary path to success for the youth. This means more to them than anything. They see they are worth the struggle. As seen with every major problem occurring in the world, it isn't something that can be fixed overnight. The more that can be done for the youth, the better America's future will be. At the end of the struggle are great rewards, but what makes this possible is the commitment from the community. Youth today face many obstacles, some of which only serve to destroy futures and breed reckless behavior. However, as caretakers and responsible adults, we can greatly make a difference through our clubs. Many teenagers stand alone against these circumstances, but as a community, we can all stand together to prove we can do anything. Thank you.
So if you could, Mom, please stand up. And can we have our judges stand up? This is the toughest thing that I ask people to do. I usually get people who have never done it before, but Jeannie and Colette, would you please stand up because they had such a hard decision to make between our three youth of the year candidates, and thank you for spending your time with me. Mike, can you join me? Every year, we give an award to a staff person. We call it the Program Excellence Award. And it's really for a staff person who has gone above and beyond the call of duty. And what people don't know most of the time is that behind the scenes, there's a lot that goes on that you don't understand unless you're there. There's a lot of work with parents, there's a lot of work with kids. And one of those employees is here today, and that's Andrew. And Mike is going to tell you a few things about Andrew. And his dad is also here today, so we want to celebrate Andrew as well.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to say a few words about Andrew. He's definitely one of the most hardworking, reliable, and driven employees that we have at the Boys and Girls Club. I want to give you a little picture of what he does. His main pool is at the Southside Boys and Girls Club. He is in charge of maintaining the pool. He's in charge of the swim lessons that take place, the open swim. He's in charge of the swim team that practices there. He also helps take care of the pool at the Fox Point Boys and Girls Club. He helps out with the swim lessons on Saturday. Actually, he's in charge of those swim lessons on Saturday. And he also helps clean that pool. And he also can be found at the Wansett Boys and Girls Club, helping with the team program and their open swim lessons and their open swim. So he's all over the city. He's all over the place. Whenever we have a problem or an issue that me and him have talked about, he comes by my office, or we meet in the parking lot, which we have a lot of meetings in the parking lot. But really, it takes 5 or 10 minutes. He's very straightforward. We always come up with a solution, and I can always be assured that he's going to carry that out every single time. When he's in the pool area, it makes us have one of the safest pools. Of all the pools in Providence, they're the safest in the state. My kids went to swim lessons when they were younger. I've been there when he starts swim lessons. I've walked in and seen him in the middle of a lesson, and it's the same thing each and every time. I can't say enough good things about him. I'm proud to work with him. Like I said, one of the most driven employees that works for us. Congratulations. This award's for you. Andrew Jones.
So, when I was asked to come here tonight, I had no idea what it was. I was told, no shorts, no t-shirts. Somewhat presentable. So, here I am. The club has been so much for me. I started off 6 years old in Kentucky. Nicole was there then. Nicole went to Providence. I ended up in Providence as well. When I turned 15, Nicole came down during my lifeguard class and told Jeff Lanahan, I need your best guard. Luckily, I was that guy, and here I am 8 years later. And like I've heard so many stories about how much the club has meant to so many people, I feel the same way. I have grown up with a ton of great people from the club. I have met and worked with some of the best people I've met in my life, and I am proud to call the Fox Point and Southside clubs my second home. So that's basically all I got for you.
One of the things that we teach the kids at the Boys and Girls Club is they should never be afraid to ask for help. And when I found myself in charge, I knew we were going to need help if we were going to move forward, and especially if we were going to have an impact on the teens in our community. So I went to Bank of America and told Phil Tapio the story of our team and the potential that was there, but that no one was really tapping into our greatest resource. And since then, Bank of America has been right behind all of our kids. I think it's been almost 10 years ago. This morning, I went to a breakfast at 7 a.m. and Bank of America was hosting it. The title of the breakfast was Rhode Island Innovates, Turning Insights into Action. And that's what Bank of America does. Caesar, Bintu, and all of the other kids that are in youth employment, they worked for Bank of America through the Boys and Girls Club. What Bank of America does is they give us a third tier of youth employment so the best and the brightest can continue to work for us. That means the kids can be in our program for 4 years, and we can track them, and we can stay with them, and we can help them write exceptional speeches. Bill, without the bank, our total landscape would look different. So thank you for starting your day at 7 a.m. looking out for Rhode Island and ending it looking out for our kids. Real happy.
Nicole, thank you very, very much, and good evening, everyone. It is so wonderful to be here. And this truly is an amazing celebration. When Nicole originally reached out to me, I actually thought I was going to be going over to Fox Point speaking to the members. but here I am at the microphone speaking to the board members. But, you know, thinking about tonight's celebration and the work that the board does, the staff does, the passion, the commitment that is brought every single day to the mission of the Boys and Girls Club, it is truly remarkable. And all of you who give of your time, your talent, your energy, you are to be commended, because it is truly making a huge difference in the lives of those the Boys and Girls Club serve. I want to congratulate Andrew for your recognition, your service, your excellence in service. Caesar, phenomenal piece that you wrote to talk about your experience and what it meant. And, you know, you heard earlier this evening from a number of alumni of the Boys and Girls Club talking about their experience, what it meant to them, and how it's continued through their entire life. Caesar, with you, many years from now, you'll be standing up here as an alum, sharing your experience with those who will follow. And you have that mantle, so carry it and carry it very proudly. At Bank of America, we have a purpose. Yes, we're a very large financial institution that operates across the country and across the globe. But we're really connected to each of the communities that we live and work in. And we're connected through our employees, we are connected through our customers, we are connected through the community partners that are so vital to making that community as rich and as vibrant as it possibly can be. Our purpose at Bank of America is to make the financial lives of our customers better. And for our customers, it is really to help them on an economic pathway to progress so that they can fulfill their dreams and accomplish everything that they hope to accomplish in their life. And we have a responsibility, and it is a corporate social responsibility that we take very seriously. And it really consists of a number of components. It includes volunteerism, making sure that as we're in the community, we're giving of our time. And we do indeed give of our time through volunteer efforts. We need to give of our resources, and we provide philanthropic grants to community organizations that are doing critical work consistent with our priorities. And we also help people live their financial lives so that they develop better money habits and can apply that discipline throughout their life. So we really connect those components, and as we bring it into the community, we focus on three key areas. Basic needs. Those obstacles that prevent people from moving into the economic mainstream. How do we address those issues? We address those issues through investment. We help them get food to eat, sustain them. We help house them. We help train them. Basic needs. Community revitalization and community development. Bringing life to our community, creating a framework where anyone has the opportunity to truly reach their potential. And importantly, we have a very significant commitment to workforce development and education. This is so critical. And as we think about this priority at Bank of America, the alignment of this priority with the mission of the Boys and Girls Club is absolutely perfectly aligned. Your mission is to see that all of your members continue through high school, move on into a post-secondary education program, reaching their potential. That is something that we are totally committed to. And as we look across the landscape and work with nonprofit partners, we have the ability to be selective. There are many partners providing many services. So we are very, very focused on outcomes. We are very, very focused on impact and those who truly make a difference. And there is no question that the Boys and Girls Club in Providence, nationally, makes a huge difference. Last year, Bank of America supported 123 Boys and Girls Clubs across the country. Our hard dollar contribution was in excess of $4 million to the Boys and Girls Club. Locally, as Nicole mentioned, we've had a relationship that goes back a good 10 years. I've been in my role as president for the last dozen years, and we really have been investing consistently over that period of time. The summer youth employment program is something that is very near and dear to our heart, and we really enjoy providing funding to support that program. And we have actually provided funding for 100 students to have summer employment over that period of time. In addition, we have a program at Bank of America called our Student Leaders Program. And this is a very competitive program that we run annually. And it is open to all students, rising juniors and seniors in high school, where we provide training, leadership training, for high potential, community-oriented students. We provide leadership training, and then we will place them in a nonprofit organization for the summer to work in support of that nonprofit's mission. And the Boys and Girls Club has been our partner for the last decade in that particular initiative. So we've had 36 people work with the Boys and Girls Club of Providence since 2007. And what an experience for these students, what an experience for the members. And there's a story I can share with you, but one of our student leaders was very excited to be working with younger students, but interestingly, kind of just it took very nicely to a young boy who clearly didn't have a father who was with him on a daily basis. And the student leader was looking after him, and they developed a very, very good rapport. And the little boy said to the student leader, my father is in Texas, and I don't get to see him very often, and I sure wish I could. And the student leader was kind of a strapping guy. And he learned that the father wasn't really in Texas. He was in Cranston, and he was behind bars. And to see the transformation of a student leader working with a young member of the club who was unfortunately without a father. And the relationship that built there, the support that was created there, truly was something that was so powerful that it really became just an emotional experience as the story was told, as we were bringing our student leaders together. So I share that because it is real. It's about people. It's about the members of the Boys and Girls Club. It is about the opportunity that they need to realize their potential, to open new pathways, to open new doors, to reach the potential that they have. So it's with that we see the work that Nicole and the incredible staff do for the Boys and Girls Club. And we say, this is so consistent with who we are. This is what we believe in. We see the outcome. This is the kind of partner that we will continue to invest in and support for as far as we can see. So that truly is our story at Bank of America, and why the Boys and Girls Club Providence means so much to us. And it is thanks to all of you, board members, who give up your time, your energy, your talents. The staff with their passion every day. The members who appreciate all that is being done to help support. It makes this so powerful. So it's with that, I congratulate you all. This is a wonderful celebration, and it's been a pleasure to be with you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. You'll all be glad to know I'm the last speaker of the evening. I'm just going to wrap up with a quick message. As I mentioned to you earlier, one of the reasons for me joining the Board of Governors was because of my interest in developing youth. And I learned early on from talking to Nicole, she's got some stuff in your chest kind of factoids always when I talk to her, but you know, she mentioned to me that young girls caught in the cycle of poverty oftentimes simply are not aware that they have options. And sometimes they simply aspire to move to a bigger unit in the housing project as opposed to a home in another part of the city or perhaps even the suburbs. And we all know that teenage pregnancy occurs in record numbers in Providence, which also certainly hampers a girl's future options. For these reasons, I'm pleased to share with you that on Friday, we are actually starting a women's mentoring program. It's convenient that I follow Bill because, as you know, I work at the Bank of America, and I wanted to sort of share what we do with the club with more of my coworkers. So I've assembled a team of 5 female leaders at the bank, and together we'll be working with 5 girls from the club over the course of the next several months. And we'll do it sort of in the form of a luncheon and getting to know one another. But the whole purpose is to help them think about who they are, who they want to be, and where they want to go. And importantly, to let them know that they do not have to accept the low expectations that others may set for them. Overcoming adversity is certainly a challenge, but it is not impossible, particularly when you have positive role models in your life who are willing to help you down the road to opportunity. And so as an extension of that, it's my hope that next year at this time, we'll also be announcing for the first time ever a Women's Endowment Fund to fund programs specific to their development so that their future will continue to be bright. And with that, I bid you good night.